So welcome to Self and Peer Assessment, and just before we start, I just want to make you aware of this right here, that I have taken this from the New Zealand Ministry of Education, but I've modified it and changed it to meet my own and your own needs for applied sports coaching. So our learning objectives are to clarify the purpose of athlete self and peer assessment and to ID strategies that you guys can use to enable self and peer assessment with your participants. Our learning objective. So the participants who can use self and peer assessment, it enables them to ask and answer the question, how is my or our learning going? So within your team, they can actually see what their starting point was and how they're progressing. And being able to see that pathway means it's going to be a lot easier to go along that pathway towards their learning if it's completely structured out and they're able to assess where they are and where they need to go. Also known as assessment for learning. So, Dylan William, he came up and said that learning orientated students, they are used to owning their learning, learning resources from one another. Now, instantly we can see that this links into using an MKO, and that once again links into our man Vygotsky. I'm going to run out of space here, so just Vygotsky. So he came up with socio-cultural learning theory, learning from one another. And then our learners can assess their own and each other's work and be able to assess their own understanding and then make improvements. Now this is the most significant thing and is what empowers your participants. And being able to assess their own understanding and make improvements is very similar to what Matthew Syed was talking about. And if you remember, our table tennis player played the same shot over and over again to strengthen that feedback loop. So being able to experience lots of self-assessment, they can assess their own understanding and strengthen that feedback loop to see what is wrong and how to correct it. An example might be a swimmer might be to assess their tumble turn through all the basic criteria or teaching points and then look to see what they're doing wrong. For example, the angle of their push-off. Is it too high or is it too low? So if you just want to pause this and have a quick read of it, I'm not going to dwell on it because I think it's quite straightforward. And the key part here is done on works in progress. So it's ongoing. So every little session that you have or work on a drill or a skill, if they're getting self-assessment, that feedback loop has been strengthened, that they can constantly improve and revise their own ability. Now based on that links into Kolb's learning cycle of doing something and then reflecting on it. And that guy again was Kolb. So I want you to pause this slide and quickly read these 3 points. Now, with the first point, being able to assess their own progress with confidence rather than relying on the coach. Now, this is very important because when you're not there, is that player then going to be able to make decisions and assess how their performance and others is going? without you telling them what to do and what they're doing wrong. So it makes an independent player. A prime example of this is in an individual tennis match. The lone participant isn't going to have the coach being able to tell them what shot to play or what tactics to adopt while mid-game. And also, we've already talked about becoming independent and motivated, and having this active involvement is only going to increase motivation. So this main point, if you pause this and have a quick read, that the most important bit is having clearly established criteria. So you know exactly what good performance looks like, and you can show that to your participants, and you could do that through maybe a demonstration or having a demo by yourself, or maybe a more knowledgeable other, so a very good player that's within your coaching session. So then immediately your players know what a good performance looks like, that they can then compare themselves to. Another way is to perhaps maybe have a list of criteria that they could then work off, because without clearly established criteria, that your players aren't going to know whereabouts they are or how to improve, so that pathway will break down. So just pause this and have a quick look at these criteria. So we have got 3 sporting movements or skills there. The first being a forward roll in gymnastics. Now, without the actual set teaching points, such as hand placement, tucking the chin in, and pushing with the legs, it's not going to be that clear whether your learners or your gymnasts are actually doing a fluid forward roll if they don't know which criteria they have to meet. And once again, this links into the next one about creating space and exploiting it. What is actually creating space? How could you do it? One way may be going towards the touchline in order for the defender to follow you to create that space, allowing your teammates to then make the run into that exposed space. The next one is refers to the quality of a basketball shot, how many of them went in, and if so, what was good about the technique of the shooting. So as we can see here, that our criteria have to be smart. So they have to be specific and measurable. So if you have a list of criteria, such as we had for the forwards roll, then that's measurable and it can be then achievable. And just at the bottom here, we have coaches and athletes working together in order to meet that criteria. So the main message here is not about right or wrong, but rather learning and improvement. So that judgment goes out the window, and the athletes and the participants become focused on actually them improving. And if you have that, and your athletes are seeing their skills improve and then become better performers, then immediately you're going to have much better behaviour within your sessions and a better mindset, because they will see the gains they're making because they've got clear criteria that they're meeting, and then they can look to build on that, and they will look to build further on their skills. So once again, the group culture we're talking about, I need to have this way of focusing on learning through self and peer assessment without judgment. You need to get safety, and then that leads to the emotional stability, and then we have the learning, the big L right there. And this, as we know, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If people are safe from judgment, then we can have emotional respect and security, and that's where sort of rapport comes in, and then we can have learning taking place, the self-actualization.